So he played.
He played pro
Okay,
football.
okay,
Right?
okay.
James Elder, Jim Elder, we all went together.
Okay.
Tag, they call it.
Okay.
You might know him.
I remember that name.
Remember that name.
Uh-huh. Did he play Canadian football too?
He played Canadian football too.
Okay.
And then I went to the Cowboys.
To the
And
Cowboys.
the Redskins.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And those were the people that went down there with us. We went down there the same year.
Okay.
And
Tell me about Southern
well,
at that time.
well, because you know when you're in high school, you know you're the star in your place, but then you go into a place where they got 100 stars.
Right.
You know what I mean? and so the competition was much different. We had, and here again, I want to come back to the fact that integration had not come about,
Right.
which meant that you had some of the best football players
Right there.
going to black schools.
Right.
And that's where the pros came from, you know, as opposed to what's happening now.
Right,
In other words, what you see in the SEC, that's what you saw in the SWAC where I went.
Right.
You saw those kind of athletes. You know, I played against Claude Humphrey. You know that name?
Right. Exactly.
He was at Tennessee State. I played against Bob Hayes. He was at Florida A&M.
Right.
I played against, well, Mel Blount was on our team.
Okay.
You heard of him.
Right.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Frank Pitts played with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
You know, just a lot of guys that Gloucester Richardson that played. You know, all these guys played pro football. So it was a lot of guys that was going to pro when we went down there because kind of the SWAC, the SWAC was the hub for the pros to come and get pro football players.
Okay.
You know, some of them were going from South Carolina State and Morgan State, but not like the SWAC. The SWAC consisted of Southern, Grambling, Alcorn in Mississippi Valley, where Jerry Rice came from, Texas Southern, Prairie View, you know, all those schools.
Right.
Those schools were in the SWAC.
Okay.
So now I think Alabama State and Alabama A&M is in there. They weren't in there at the time that I went. But those where the guys came from.
Right. What else can you tell me about Southern, the non-football side, the non-academic, where the academic side
Well,
is?
the first thing we noticed when we got there is how beautiful the campus is.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Okay. And basically, it was the first place that I'd seen that had a black bank, a black-owned run bank.
Okay.
Well, and here again, you got to understand it was in a segregated time. But what we found out was that the state allocated dollars to Southern in this light. Well, you know they didn't want you to go to LSU, and they weren't integrated. But the mindset at that time was, if we give you, and we don't give you what we have, but if we give you things that are just as good and look just as good, you know, you be satisfied where you are. And that's why Southern School looked so much better than most other black schools.
Okay.
It was that mindset.
Okay.
Well, and you know, the same thing that existed when I was here in terms of the expectations of the academic, they expected that down there.
Okay.
They expected for us to go to class, and this is the other shock that we got. We had to wear a tie every Monday, Wednesday, football player. Wear a tie every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The whole time we were there.
Okay.
Now, if a coach was walking across the campus and they didn't see you in a tie, you ran in practice. So you see, that was another part of shaping you, because what they used to tell us, you can't play football for the rest of your life. You got to be able to get into the academic world.
Okay.
And not only do you have to get in the academic world, you got to know how to dress when you go. Now, we weren't wearing all the stylish clothes,
Right.
don't get me wrong, because we used to borrow each other's ties.
Yeah,
you know,
But you had that-
so we have a
you had
different
that
tie.
shirt and tie.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And even if you wore blue jeans, you got to have shirt and tie. So those are the kind of things that that I remember that helped shape and mold us as a person,
Okay.
as a human,
Mm-hmm.
as a professional. You know, to get us ready for the professional world. And like I said, I mean, you know, everybody wouldn't go play no kind of sports,
Right.
and we didn't even look at it like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was more of what you could do academically, because
Okay.
that was going to carry you through life.
Okay. So you finished there. You were in the class of
70.
70. Okay. And then you went to the Cowboys first. Okay.
Cowboys first, and then the Redskins.
Okay.
And then after peeling around in football for a while,
Mm-hmm.
you know, getting injured, I broke my shoulder the first year.
Okay. At the Cowboys.
Mhm.
Okay.
And after peeling around with that,
What position did you play?
split in and flanker,
Okay.
and kick off and punt return.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after peeling around with that,
Mm-hmm.
then I decided to just, you know, come back home, and that's when I started working for the Athens Clarke County government, and I worked for them for 33 years.
Okay.
And my position was, I was the community outreach program director.
That's where you started.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I
Okay.
started at the East Athens Community Center first.
Right. Let's talk about your first job.
Okay, my first
Talk
job,
about that job.
that job was with Athens Clarke County.
Right. Uh-huh.
But it was at the East Athens Community Center.
Mhm.
I worked there for 17 years.
Okay. Did you go there as center director? Or?
I went there as center. I was the first center director
Okay.
over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
What was that like? Because that center was new. That
Oh,
was
it
for that
was-
community. It was,
Yeah, it was. Let me tell you, it was. I told you I graduated from Southern, but I got my education over there at East Athens. Really.
Right.
And I tell you why I say that,
Mhm.
because you had to be a mother,
Mm-hmm.
a daddy,
Mhm.
an uncle, an aunt, a preacher,
Mhm.
a counselor, you name it.
Right.
You had to be all of that.
Mhm.
And
Because that facility was new.
It was brand
and it's
new.
in that community.
Oh, yeah.
and there were a lot of families, a
That
lot
was-
of kids that.
it was packed every day.
Yeah.
It opened July 7th, 1975.
Okay.
That's when it opened.
Mm-hmm.
And we had our first summer camp that year.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't last the whole summer because we started in July.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next year, we were able to start it, you know, in June.
Okay.
You know, but the point is, my job description said, go into the community and meet the needs of the community.
Okay.
Well, what does that mean? I mean, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what we found out when we got there, first of all, there were kids dropping out of school. They were dropping out of school.
Mm-hmm.
We had discipline issues, those kind of. So we had to get all of that straight.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, before you can educate, before you can recreate, you got to educate.
Mhm.
So we had to educate the people to the facility.
Right.
And that's where we started a lot of programs.
Mm-hmm.
The Athens tutorial program started there.
Right. Okay.
And a lot of people don't know this,
Mhm.
but the neighborhood health center,
Mm-hmm.
that the one down by Bethel Home and
Mhm.
the one over in East Athens,
Mhm.
it actually started out of the community center.
Okay.
And this is the way it started.
Okay.
The health department contacted us one day, and they said that the people in East Athens weren't getting the kind of services that they needed, but they didn't want to come to the health department over here on what's the one up off Millage.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
they didn't want to come up there.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So we sat around and tossed some ideas out, and what we decided to do was to have a satellite program on the third floor in the center,
Mhm.
and they would do like light screening, they would issue condoms, they would test women, and they would do all that. It started right there.
Okay. Okay.
And the response was so overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
that's when they decided to build those other
What
places.
about that? Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
And that's why it's over in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they moved out of there and then
Right.
they did that.
Yeah. And some of those things that were instilled in you at West Broad and those other places, you took to that center,
Oh,
too,
yeah.
didn't you?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, that was a big part of it, really.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big part of it. And it was a big part of it because of the way I grew up. And I know that the opportunities we had was not really in line with, I mean, we didn't have a lot of recreation.
Right.
We didn't have a lot of programmatic things. And so when they told us to meet the needs of the community, then what we had to do is look out there and see what the needs were.
Right.
Kids were dropping out of school. We started a tutorial program. They were having health problems in there. We helped with the health center,
Right.
you know, those kind of things. Basically, 90% of the programs that we had there, it had something to do with the iniquities in the community. And that's how we programmed, you know.
Okay.
So I stayed over there for 17
17 years.
And then they promoted me to community program outreach coordinator.
Okay.
And then what I did, I went around and, of course, Grand Slam was started in the scheme of that,
Okay.
you know.
So your office moved from
I moved to Memorial Park.
to Memorial Park.
Right,
Okay.
and then I was over the neighborhood centers, the community centers,
Okay.
and then eventually over Bishop Park and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But then they made me community outreach coordinator. In other words, what I did was I was the liaison between the community and our department. And I went around to make sure that the programs were adequate, that they were meeting the needs of the community, and that people were, they were affordable so people could get in.
Okay.
So that was my job
Okay.
throughout the duration of my
All right.
stay over there, and I worked
Okay.
there for 30
And you mentioned you helped start the Athens tutorial program.
Right.
And you mentioned Grand Slam.
Right, Grand
Tell us about Grand Slam.
Well, Grand Slam started out of a request from the police department. In 1989, the police department thought it was too much youth violence on the street. And so what they wanted